gentlemen, welcome to Overtime Hockey Talk. My name is Mark Paul. My co-host Justin Baker and I are set for the quarter. No, well, like
one third. Yeah,
1/3 power rankings. A third way through this season, about 20-ish games through. You know, of course, you've got some teams who've only played 14, so really it's a quarter of the way through their season. But looking forward to doing I'll say it's probably a foot deep, but a mile wide on all these teams. But just to get a quick little recap of how some of these teams are doing, we'll spend, some of these garbage teams, we'll probably spend 30 seconds talking about them. Although sometimes those are the ones that are fun to dive into why they're doing so poorly. And other teams will spend a little bit more time. So 1 to 2 minutes per team. That'll get us at about an hour, and we will give our analysis on how this is going so far. There are, I would say, not as many unexpected teams that are not good. Outside of my thus far horrific pick to have the Buffalo Sabres in the playoffs, which I'll admit, of course, it was a ballsy move. But
I picked the Rangers.
Looks like my balls got cancer because it's not looking good with that. So. Go get your nuts checked.
Thank you. Yeah,
make sure you do that. I know it's not November, so
I check them every time I'm in the shower.
But yeah, you just gotta grab them and cough and. That's what, hey.
I need to leave.
That's what it's all about. So let's, without further ado, let's dive in here. We're gonna start at the bottom. So, familiar faces that you're about to see here at the bottom. A couple teams that have been near the bottom of pretty much everybody's power rankings for, I'd say, the last at least 2 years. Basically, since the Ottawa Senators lost to the Pittsburgh Penguins in Game 7 in overtime in the conference finals, they have been near the bottom of the barrel. And I think that's where they'll find themselves. At least they do in mine. Despite winning 3 in a row, let's dive in.
Yeah, can we thank the Ottawa Senators for getting Claude Julien fired? Because that might be part of the reason.
That's true. Montreal had their struggles against Ottawa, and I think from what I understand, listening to some 31 Thoughts, Elliot Friedman did say he had heard that it was probably already in motion before that game even had happened, but it became official after that game. So
makes sense.
You get the sense that we'll come back. We'll come to Montreal. We'll come to Montreal. Let's start at number 31. I'm assuming that you have the league's most intriguing power play at number 31.
I have Ottawa at 31.
Oh, you have Ottawa?
I do.
Okay.
And so,
despite winning a bunch in a row.
Yeah, it's funny. You're going to look at any power rankings on the league, and it's going to be either Ottawa or Detroit right at the very bottom 2 spots, right? So for me, though, the only reason I put Ottawa behind Detroit and Detroit at number 30 was basically the goaltending on Ottawa is so horrific. I mean, it is just statistically terrible. Since February 25th, I saw this Sportnet stat. Minimum 10 starts, worst save percentages in the league. Matt Murray is in the top 5 in terms of worst at .887. It has not been good for him all season long. They can't win a game. And despite Brady Tkachuk being the league leader in shots taken.
Yeah, Ottawa has been quite bad. I guess I will say this for Ottawa: they have actually done okay against some really good teams at times. Like they have beaten the Leafs a couple times. They've beaten Montreal. They have beaten Winnipeg. Like they're actually beating some okay teams. And of course they've won 3 in a row. Ottawa, like the Leafs can't beat Calgary, and then in comes Ottawa, and Ottawa does it. 6-1, they blow them away. Now some of that might be, hey, you had several difficult games against the Leafs. It was a grind, and then you go play this crap team, and
Yeah, and then when you look at Detroit, I mean, there's actually 2 teams that have allowed more goals than Detroit, which is shocking. I figured Ottawa maybe would have been the only one, but there's another one. Yeah,
Cougar is quickly falling fast.
Should have never let Tanev and Markstrom go.
Yeah, some things have gone awry there. I do have Detroit last. I think based on a 6% power play.
It's bad.
Not that, of course, power plays can go through little slumps, and sometimes really good teams have so-so power plays. But when you have a 6% on a power play, to me that shows not only just probably pretty brutal coaching, because even bad teams in the past, like the Buffalo Sabres, they have a good power play. They're the best power play in the league. They're terrible, but they have a good power play. So that to me says Buffalo has a lot of talent, but something's going wrong. Something's going horribly wrong. Detroit, though, has such minimal talent that even when they get on the power play, they are so bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Dylan Larkin is on pace for 29 points, and that would lead the team. 29 points, which over the course of an 82-game season is like 40 points. 40 points to lead a team in scoring.
Yeah, I can't really...
All this talk about Dylan Larkin he's actually pretty elite, but he's, just on a bad team. I don't know, man. Like, even players on terrible teams that are elite put up 50, 60, 70 points in a year.
Oh, sure. We
Dylan
remember...
Larkin might not put up 40.
Yeah, I remember some really good Ranger teams where, like, their leading scores were 50 points, right?
Right.
But... again,
and they got it done by committee, and that was
sure.
There's no committee in Detroit.
I feel bad for Larkin though, because literally the only good line mate he's ever played with since the start of the season, Tyler Bertuzzi's been injured for most of the season.
Right.
So nobody else is contributing, and so what are you going to expect at that point?
So you have Ottawa 31, Detroit 30.
Yep.
I have those two teams flipped. Flip a coin. I don't want. I guess I don't want either of those teams this year, but I would. Looking out over the horizon, Ottawa to me has a little bit more hope. So therefore, I am more hopeful about them in the back half of the year than I am about Detroit. Like, Detroit is just going to keep on bleeding.
Okay.
And I think Ottawa has the potential to stop the bleed and to finish this season with some dignity.
Yeah.
Detroit there's no dignity there.
I'll give you that, although I will say, when you talk about hope, Detroit does have the 4th best prospect ranking in the NHL, so there's some hope there for them in the future.
According to whom?
I don't remember. I think it was ESPN or might have been Hockey Database or something like that.
So Greg Wyshynski
might have been,
according to
but
Greg
still,
Wyshynski.
I'll take 4, even if top 10. I'll take it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, any team is going to have any team with lots of draft picks who aren't moving their players up onto their roster is going to be somebody who you go, oh yeah, they got a good prospect pool, because it's all based on potential.
Cha-ching.
That's what you're talking about. Okay, who do you have? Like, let's go 29, 28, 27.
Okay, 29. I got the Anaheim Ducks, 28 Nashville Predators, and 27 Vancouver.
Okay, I have a similar order. Nashville 29, Anaheim 28, and San Jose at 27.
Okay.
I've got San Jose a little bit lower. Man, San Jose looks bad.
Yeah, I have San Jose at 26.
Last year was not a fluke.
So,
clearly.
No.
Nashville, I thought about putting them low. Like, I guess I have them about as low as you can go. 29. You can't really put any other team in the 30-31 slot. Maybe Buffalo, but you got to think Buffalo, though, they've only played 17 games, and they're tied with Detroit and Ottawa, who've played 22 games. So you got to think over those 5 games, Buffalo's going to pick up 3 points at least, hopefully, and that would move them into more of like a low mid. But just the way that they've been playing, benching Jeff Skinner,
he's got to get a goal sometime. My God.
I don't know what is happening there, but you can't buy him out. Be like $37 million is what you'd have to pay.
No, you can't afford to.
12 years he'd be on their books.
Right. You can't afford to have that. No way. But I will say, so reason I have the Ducks down at 29, though, for me, they are the lowest scoring team in the NHL, and they must be just so happy to see Trevor Zergas come up and just look dynamite so far. But again, it's a small sample size, so I'm not reading into it.
Great goaltending, though, can win a couple games.
Right, and that's why they're floating. I mean, it's just because of John Gibson is, John Gibson. Nashville, I mean, UC Saros, he was supposed to be the future in that. What happened? the frick? He tanked. Now it's Pekka Rinne's net right now. It's all him, and they can't seem to score a goal. And it's funny, speaking of goals, I saw a thing the other day, or maybe it was today. Basically, they were looking at all-time goals scored in a season record, franchise leaders, right? Nashville is the only team, active NHL franchise, that has never had a 40-goal scorer. Really? Never. Columbus had 2 41-goal scorers, but Nashville, nothing.
Rick Nash.
Right, yeah, Rick Nash did it, and I think it was Marian Gaborik, too, was another, I think, who was on that list. But still, regardless, I think their highest goal scorer ever was like 34, 35 goals, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was someone named Martin Erad or David Legwand or something stupid like that.
Right.
But that just shows me, how much this team misses scoring and really needs it. Vancouver, it's the goals against. Obviously, they're tied with Ottawa for the most goals against in the NHL, which is just really, really bad goaltending right now and bad defense. They look lost.
Yeah, Vancouver. I guess I'm still thinking, all right, this team isn't that much different than what we saw last year. So what's happening? Is Chris Tanev really the linchpin in this whole thing? I don't know if I buy that. And is Jacob Markstrom that probably has more to do with it?
I agree.
Than anything. I mean, they just cannot get a stop. And in turn, I mean, offensively they're a very good team. I mean, the amount of goals that they've scored, when you look at the teams that are around them in the standings, I mean, they've scored a lot of goals. I mean, there's very few teams with they're third in the league in goals. I mean, it's fantastic. So they're having no problem scoring goals. And that is, when you look at the teams that are towards the bottom, what's their problem? Ottawa, struggling to score. Ottawa, maybe a little less. Ottawa's scoring some goals, but they have had some games where they put up 6 a few times.
They're not consistent.
That definitely helps.
Sure.
You get a couple 6-goal games, and suddenly things look a little different in the giant picture of goals for, goals against. But when you look at these other teams that surround Vancouver, their problem is they can't score. So, to me, if they can just make some adjustments, get a little better goaltending, suddenly I think they start to win games. So I think there's more adjustments that Vancouver can make over some of these. What's Anaheim and Nashville going to do? Neither of those teams are going to start scoring goals. There's no one that can score there. I mean, everyone has essentially been washed up or just burnt out of whatever's happening there. The Peter Laviolette experiment, I think, is gone by the... Oh, no, sorry. Not
John Hines.
John Hines.
Yes.
I was like, as soon as I said it. John Hines, it's not working so far.
Nope.
You're not going to can the guy right now, but it's definitely a personnel issue. Got to try and get the right guys in there. I think they have some pieces that they can move, but Anaheim, they're not scoring goals anytime soon. You got to convince Ryan Getzlaf to move.
I think they will,
and to get something for him.
Yeah.
Now I think they're going to have to eat half his salary, and you're not going to get that much for Ryan Getzlaf, but I think you could probably get.
You can get a third rounder,
second and a third,
sure,
something like that. Just for name value and for you look at what Spezza and Thornton and these guys have done on the Leafs. You got to think people are looking at Ryan Getzlaf going, okay, I mean, he's in the same ilk as those guys. If we can bring him in, maybe he can play on our top line, and then we can kind of shuffle guys down. Imagine Ryan Getzlaf going to Pittsburgh.
Well, he doesn't have to play in the top line, right? I mean, yeah, even Ryan Getzlaf on the third line and maybe a top power play guy.
How about Ryan Getzlaf with Sidney Crosby or maybe to get Malkin going? I mean, you know that Pittsburgh. I got a few things to talk about with Pittsburgh once we get there.
Yeah.
The Nashville Predators are 28 for me, or 29 for me, because I think that this is only going to get worse. This is not they've got a lot in the cupboards. Of course, they're Nashville. They got lots of defensemen, but it's going to keep getting worse.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's not going up anytime soon.
Let's go 26 through 24.
All right, 26. I have the San Jose Sharks, so not too far behind where you have them.
We'll hit us.
25, I've got Buffalo, and 24, I have the New York Rangers.
Okay, yeah. So I've got Buffalo 26, Vancouver 25, and Columbus 24.
Okay.
The Rangers at 23. So, who's your 23?
Yeah, 23, the Calgary Flames for me.
Oh, wow, you got Calgary. Calgary down there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Buffalo. Let's talk Jeff Skinner. Guy needs to get back into the lineup. They need to figure something out. It's crazy, though, that he's not playing and they have the best power play in the league.
The best power play in the league.
The guy who scored 40 goals 2 years ago, you'd think, oh, okay, well, their power play is going to be good because they've got Nope, he's not the reason why at all. Not even a little bit. He's not even playing. And he did come out and say, I can't improve on anything unless I get to play. But then they're putting him on the fourth line, and he's not producing, and you wonder why, because he's on the fourth line.
Yep. I mean, gee whiz, Buffalo. I don't know if there's... To me, this is a franchise where I think at some point, are you going to start having that Jack Eichel conversation, right? Because... No. I mean, you don't have that conversation, but every year this keeps getting longer and longer, and they just keep sitting at the bottom of the league.
They also got destroyed by COVID,
No, I know they did, yeah. But I mean, hopefully, in the next couple of years, once they start ridding themselves of some bad contracts and they can purge themselves of some terrible players, maybe. But obviously, it doesn't help when you have Jeff Skinner on the books for a while.
Yeah, and he's not playing. Like, it'd be one thing if Jeff Skinner was playing at a mediocre pace, like a $4 million player pace. You could go, well, whatever, we're overpaying him, but at least he's a player. He can play in our top 9. Like, he's got to be able to play in that top 9. There's no way that he's struggling that bad.
No, I think that's just a management saying, hey, we're putting you on the fourth line, we're benching you. We want you to know that we're not happy with your performance. And yeah, I mean, he's playing like a league minimum paid player, and hopefully, I mean, I will say the one bright spot in Buffalo is Ristolainen playing much better this season than last.
Yeah.
So if they can keep that up, and Dahlin kind of struggled to start the season, he's starting to get it back together a little bit. So maybe, again, they bring in some decent goaltending next year. Maybe the future is a little bit better.
What do you think of Columbus right now? They make that big trade, Pierre-Luc Dubois. They bring in Patrick Laine. Has it worked for them so far? Like, when I think of the Columbus Blue Jackets, I just kind of look at a team that this is finally like kind of how I think we expected last year to go.
You know what? I don't necessarily know about that. I think this is still a team that's very capable of putting up some good numbers. Obviously Seth Jones, Zach Werenski, they got a little, again, like a lot of guys, got off to a slow start. And I learned that from a fantasy perspective, keeping Jones for so long. I was just like, I'm not trading him. I'm not trading him. He'll come around, and he has. But the thing is Korpisalo hasn't been all that good. Elvis Merlukens, he's been all right, but not good. And so I think if they can just improve that goaltending a little bit, and they've got to learn to adjust a little bit more. Jack Roslovic came in and looked pretty good to start off, and he's cooled off a little bit. But I think between him and Laine and Max Domi and some of these other little pieces, Cam Atkinson, I think they have the ability to turn it around and still be competitive.
When Zach Werenski goes from a 30-goal pace to a 3-goal pace, you've got a problem.
A little bit.
That's a big problem. Zach Werenski has not looked good.
Yeah.
I am wondering with New York Rangers was your 24, right?
Yep.
And they're my 23. Without Panarin right now, I don't know how long that's gonna go. That's the weirdest situation. I don't even fully understand it, but essentially, the speak from the Panarin camp is he's being railroaded by the Russian government because he spoke out against them.
Oh my gosh.
And they're trying to frame him for something stupid, like abuse or something.
That's stupid.
And so he's taking some personal time to deal with it. But it's the weirdest situation. Like, what in the heck is happening? Then he leaves, and they beat the Bruins 6-2. So maybe the Rangers figuring it out a little bit. I mean, that's definitely a confidence booster anytime you can beat the Bruins. I have to think, much like Ottawa, but in a different in a little bit better position in terms of contending for a potential playoff spot. The Rangers with Lafreniere, you're hoping that he can, or Lafreniere, that he can figure.
Yeah, he finally got his first assist last night. So
as he goes, and hopefully Panarin comes back, all is good. There's no issues there in his personal life. This Rangers team should be better than they were last year, and they just haven't been able to put it all together. And I think based on the talent that they have there, I think that we see them finishing higher. Also, when you look at that division's been a little bit funky in terms of like what's happened to it and games being canceled and moved around. So I think the Rangers still have a shot to be competitive. Now, will they make the playoffs? At this point, I doubt it, but I don't know if they're like bottom fourth worst in the league. I think that the division that they're in is also pretty good. Like even a Pittsburgh team, like Pittsburgh is not a bad team, but in this division they look bad. But I think if they were in the Pacific, Pittsburgh would be in a playoff spot.
Okay. Yeah.
So well, I think they're just playing in a really good division, and that's certainly hurt them too. So, okay, let's go. What we said, 23-20, something like that.
We got 22-20.
22-20.
Yeah. So at 22, I've got the New Jersey Devils.
Okay.
At 21, the Arizona Coyotes, and at 20, I've got Columbus.
All right.
Now, Columbus a little higher than what you had them, but again, I kind of go back to, I think if, goaltending can turn around a little bit and they just need to adjust. I think they're still learning to adjust with those couple big additions. And
sure.
Yeah, I think they got an opportunity. But New Jersey, I mean, they're still a rebuild team. Let's face it. Ty Smith has been nice this season. Leading all rookie defensemen in scoring, so that's always a bonus. And Nico Hischier, he's meh. Nico
Hischier.
Yeah, and newly named captain, but
it looks good on him. I think that was a good call.
Yeah, I do too. Arizona, though, they're the question mark for me because they have the capability sometimes to just shut teams down offensively, but they haven't really done it as well this season. I mean, they've still let in quite a few goals compared to the last few seasons. So, if they can turn that around and, maybe Clayton Keller can pick it up just a little bit more and, Kessel as well. Again, this is a team that needs a number one center for sure, but, they're not going to get it. So maybe you can make a push. LA for some reason has been hot. St. Louis has looked, okay. So maybe they can still make a push here. I don't know I have Jordan Binnington on my fantasy team, and I watch him play against Arizona, and St. Louis, for whatever reason, just can't beat the Coyotes. So
that's like Toronto and David Rittich.
Right. So exactly.
Get handcuffed by somebody.
So Arizona has the opportunity here to maybe, if they can, keep playing like they do against some of these teams, they could maybe make a push for that fourth spot, but we'll see.
All right. So I have at 22, I have Calgary. At 21, New Jersey, and then 20, Arizona. Calgary's an interesting one. They're playing... I mean, they actually have not done that bad. Like, in terms of putting up points, scoring goals, in this division, they're last. And I think that makes it look like, man, this team's really struggling to score goals. There are many other teams around the league who can't score goals either. But this Calgary team is kind of this... like a Heckle in Jekyll and Hyde.
Heckle and Hyde.
Heckle and Hyde. They can come out, play really well. You come out, you beat the Leafs, and then you come out and Ottawa destroys you. Just a lot of inconsistency. Jacob Markstrom out, and that's going to hurt you.
It's only day to day, so hopefully he'll get back in the next game. But.
Right, but if he misses, if this is a lingering thing, and the plan was him all along, I mean that definitely is gonna play into them struggling. Really, they're a couple points back. Montreal's really struggled, so that has kept Calgary in the race. It's going to be a Montreal-Calgary fourth place battle. I think that'll play out for the rest of this year.
Yeah, I agree.
They'll be within 2 to 4 points of each other for probably the majority of the rest of the regular season. And when it comes down to it, I think Montreal probably has the depth to fend off a Calgary I think Calgary just looks a little too slow at times, and you can kind of see the age catching up to them.
Yeah. Once you get past, I mean, honestly, with Calgary, once you get past Lindholm, Gaudreau, and Monahan, there's not much offensively.
Right.
So I worry for sure if they can get depth scoring, and that'll hurt them.
I think the one saving grace for Arizona, they are above 500, and they are in a bad division. One win, and they are tied for first in this division. Now, granted, they played a lot more games, but
Sure. Yeah.
you got to play the game. They are definitely not out of anything. So, in some sense, that it makes me feel like, this division, either this division's really bad or everyone's just really, really equal outside of the Ducks and the Sharks,
Right.
Who have both been quite terrible. But I mean, when 2 points separate first through sixth, I know that there's a 4-game gap in games, but that happens in the regular season. At time, like in a normal regular season, we see a 4-game gap.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So it's not that crazy, and you are playing against your division all the time. So I think the one thing that we'll see is there has already been more swings because everyone's playing each other in the division. There's no a point's coming from this bad division. Everyone
Right.
goes outside and plays these teams, and we
You
all
have to
get
essentially
points.
think about it like a 4-point swing because that team's losing 2
Right.
and you're gaining 2.
Right.
So
Right. So things can turn around a lot quicker in this format. So a team like, I mean, even Vancouver, who is several games back, several points back, you go in and you win 3 in a row against the same team. It could it very well could happen. Suddenly, you find yourself in a playoff spot.
Yep.
Very quickly. And I think this system will allot for a little bit more of an interesting back and forth in the regular season. All right, let's go. We're into the top 20 now. Let's go 19 through. Let's just do 19 through 15.
19 through 15. All right. So 19, I've got the Dallas Stars. At 18, the LA Kings. 17, Chicago Blackhawks. 16, Pittsburgh, and 15, Minnesota.
Okay, we're a little different here. So I've got LA 19, Dallas 18, Pittsburgh 17, Washington, and then Montreal rounding out, coming into the top 15 there.
Okay.
Talk to me about Dallas.
Yeah. You know what? I worry about them because specifically Monday night, right? I watched Antoine Khudobin stop 49 shots. They still lose 3-1. Now, granted, it was to the Florida Panthers, but it was their 6th straight loss. I know
the Panthers juggernaut.
Yeah, Panthers are looking pretty good, but they've been ravished a lot by COVID, and they haven't been able to get in any sort of rhythm because every time they play a couple of games now they have to stop for 5 or 6 games, which is annoying, and I'm sure that's probably hindering them a little bit. But right now, from what I've seen, I worry about them a little bit. That last year was a fluke.
Dallas has also had the storms that happened, right? Like, it wasn't even all COVID. It was like, all right, we're back from COVID. Nope, there's no power now.
Right. It's been that stuff too.
Everything has been going wrong for them. I mean, there are teams in Detroit has played 7 more games than the Dallas Stars. I mean, Vancouver, I know it's at a different division, has played 9 more games than the Dallas Stars. I mean, it's very difficult to compare. They're the one team that I kind of like. I put a giant asterisk next to them because after 15 games, even like, all right, they're 6-5-4. All right, so they lost 4 games in overtime in 15 games. I mean, that's very easily 4 games where they happen to win in overtime. I mean, overtime can be a little bit random sometimes. It's just
It can.
Somebody gets possession off the bat and things can go. So potentially there's maybe, I'll say, at least 2 points that are kind of a swing in there that are maybe an unlucky point that you lose there. And if you have those points, suddenly you're in 15 games, you're at 18 points. You've got 6 games in hand on the Columbus Blue Jackets, who would only be 3 points back, and then you're of course 9 points back of Carolina, who's going to be hard to catch.
Yeah, I will say the one thing is, maybe they get...
But you could catch Chicago.
Right, yeah, you could. And maybe they get Tyler Seguin back and it just jumpstarts everything, right? That would be the one thing.
And that's the other thing is you're playing without your top center.
Right.
And
So
they're still hanging on.
They are. I'll give them that. But again, I'm with you. Once I start seeing more consistency, I'm not necessarily just playing games, but
Where did you have Pittsburgh in your list?
I had Pittsburgh at 16.
Okay, I had them at 17.
Yeah.
Knocking on the door of the playoffs. They're right there. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity for this team to rewrite this ship. Like,
as long as you have Crosby and Malkin, yeah.
I mean, Malkin has been quite bad. He's actually, I'd say, I mean, this might be by far his worst year. I was reading an article at The Athletic. I finally bit the bullet, and I got a subscription to The Athletic.
I need to.
$2 a month for a year. So it was like $24 for the year. It was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to bite the bullet. I feel like when all these podcasts I listen, oh yeah, you got to go read this. It's a must read over at The Athletic. I'm like, damn it, I can read the first paragraph. So yeah, I finally did it, and I've been enjoying a lot of the deep dives, but a deep dive into Malkin's year so far. And long story short, his expected goals is way back. He is not doing well at all. He's not shooting. He's really not getting the same type of opportunities. He's getting less ice time. Like everything's kind of pulled back for Malkin, and he's what, 34 years old?
He's up there, yeah.
And 34 tends to be the age where people can fall off really fast. Like, does Malkin go from last year being elite to this year now being really, he's like a decent second line center now?
Yeah, and I mean, that's why the NHL has that 35 and over contract, because they know once you hit 35, it's typically
it can fall.
It goes down
quick, especially if you don't. If you continue to take care of your body the same way that you took care of it through your 20s, you can survive your early 30s, and you'll find that you kind of hit this age where you're like, why isn't my body doing what it used to do? And even when you work just as hard as you did before, your body's just not there. So you got to change a lot of things. You got to eat differently and drink less.
Yeah.
I just got to imagine he's Russian. I'm sure his water bottle on occasion is not just filled with water.
Right. Yeah, and Pittsburgh too, the goaltending is horrific, right? Not a single goaltender with a 900 or better save percentage. I mean, they're both Jarry and DeSmith. They look bad, and maybe that's a little bit about the team in front of them, but they still got to stop pucks if they want to be better.
Yeah, and I still think that Pittsburgh certainly has a good opportunity to make the playoffs. The Islanders, I guess, would be up until this recent stretch. They've been fantastic. The last 10 games, the first 10 games, only they were under 500. Didn't look that great stumbling into this season, and they've kind of figured that out.
That's what good coaching will do.
A lot of good teams in this division, and Pittsburgh might be the team that's left out in the dust.
Yep.
But bringing in Brian Burke, bringing in Ron Hextall, I mean, Brian Burke's already said we're gonna try to win with this group. So they're gonna go out and make a move. I'm on the Getzlaf to Pittsburgh train.
I did say Pittsburgh wasn't making the playoffs, so
that's true. You did, and I did say Philadelphia was a lock for the playoffs.
They do, and they look pretty good. So
they do look good. Yeah, they just didn't look good in Lake Tahoe. That's it.
Well, we won't talk about that game.
Melty Tahoe.
Boston could do that to you, though.
That's true. That is very true. Okay. Any other teams in there that you want to? Montreal fired their coach, Claude Julien. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Ducharme in.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I got Montreal at 14 just because as well as they started the season, I still think they're very capable of doing that. Carey Price has just looked really, really bad, and I think if they can bring in, I don't want to say really, really bad, but he hasn't looked good.
Jake Allen should be giving a legitimate
That's the thing.
Look.
I think it's about time you just give Jake Allen the net. And you
like
just
a .932 save percentage.
Right. Give him the net, let Carey Price play one every 4 games, see what happens, right? Or,
you split him.
One every 3 games. I don't care.
2-2 and yeah, I mean he should at least be getting half the starts the way that Price has been. Price has not done himself any favors.
No.
And I mean maybe if Price is playing less, he'll play better. I don't know.
Maybe.
Or
Minnesota.
Maybe you just need to play Price every game.
Right. And at 15 I've got Minnesota. So they look great. They're sitting in second place. I will say that line of Zuccarello, God, why can I never pronounce the Russian?
Kaprizov.
Yeah, they look great.
5 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, he did a wraparound the other day last night against LA that just had some quickness to it that I've never seen. So he makes Minnesota exciting to watch. So hopefully Minnesota can keep this up. I've always been a little leery of Minnesota, so I'm waiting for that bubble to burst. So maybe that's why I don't have them maybe, above a team like Montreal right now.
Yeah, Minnesota is with Kaprizov, they suddenly have a game breaker. Mm-hmm. They always had depth. They always had some talent, but Kaprizov has really changed the dynamic. I mean, right now he is shooting 17.9% with his 5 goals. I mean, he's not shooting a ton. He's not even averaging 2 shots a game so far. But it feels like he can do something every game. And some of that is Minnesota's system. I mean, they're definitely playing a system that says we know we're not going to score a ton of goals. So we're going to figure this out. But they have not missed Devan Dubnyk, that's for sure.
Nope. That's for sure.
Who else we got in here? Washington. I have Washington at 16.
Yeah, you have them a lot lower than I do.
I have them pretty low. 4-5-1 in their last 10. They have struggled. They are the worst offender of allowing goals in that division. They've allowed 65 goals, which I know, yes, they have played, New Jersey's only played 15 games, but whereas Washington's played 19, but in those 4 games, I highly doubt New Jersey's going to allow 21 goals in 4 games. So Washington's defense has been rather porous. Their goaltending has at times looked like what's happening here. Like Samsonov hasn't been good. I mean,
no, nobody's been good in that net.
Vanecek, he's been fine. Like he's been average, and that's kind of all you need with Washington is average goaltending. But I do worry. You kind of got this unknown goaltender playing all your games, and that can, like, things can turn off really quickly for a guy who I don't think before a few weeks ago I didn't know who Vanecek, is that how you say his name?
I really don't know.
I didn't know who he was. So, just kind of popped on my radar once he started winning games for Washington, but that usually doesn't last forever. Like the Jordan Binnington thing, that's like a once in a generation kind of.
Sure. I mean, we look at the Hamburglar, right? Just came out of nowhere. Usually guys like that.
He wasn't good. He just had a crazy run.
Sure, yeah. And that's the thing. Usually you see guys where they just show up and they play really good for a stretch, win a lot of games, and then it kind of cools off. If they've never been on anybody's radar before. Because if you're really a good goaltender, you'll be on someone's radar, right? So, I don't know. We'll see. I hope for Washington, maybe they can get some goaltending. And speaking of goaltending, Henrik Lundqvist in pads Tuesday from open heart surgery. And, hey, if anything, that's a moral boost for this team.
Yeah. If he could come back, that'd be huge.
Huge.
Even the fact that maybe he can come back and be a part of the team.
Right.
Whether he's playing games this year, I don't know. I don't know how that works, but that would be a big boost. Who do you have 14 through 10? 14 through 11.
Okay.
We'll leave the top 10.
So 14 I have Montreal, 13 the Islanders, 12 Washington, and 11 St. Louis.
Okay. Yeah, I've got St. Louis 14, Chicago 13, Minnesota 12, and the Islanders 11.
Okay. I do want to talk about why you have, I had Chicago at 17, so not a huge difference, but why 13? What about them has just caught your eye?
Well, they're getting very timely goaltending, and that is, when you look at their goals against, it's kind of middle of the road. They have just been exceeding expectations all year. And when I consider what they've been able to do, they're 8-2 in their last 10. I mean, I don't know if there's a team that is. Edmonton is also 8-2 in their last 10. So, in terms of being very hot, Chicago, the hottest team, at least in that Central Division, they're rolling, and that's a big deal. I mean, in power rankings, you're looking at the team. What have you done for me lately? And so Chicago has shown in the last 10 games there's something going on there. They've just shown up. They aren't supposed to be here. They're supposed to be down with Detroit.
They're supposed to be rebuilding. That's why they started those young kids in there.
Detroit and Chicago were supposed to battle it out for that last spot in the division, and here you go. Chicago's in a playoff spot. Don't look like Patrick Kane with 31 points. Alex DeBrincat's got 20 points. Like, you've got a couple of guys averaging more than a point per game. And, I mean, you got Dominic Kubalik, 16 points in 21 games. I mean, these guys that, you know, where's Jonathan Taves?
Oh, he's injured, but...
Exactly.
Yeah, but...
No Jonathan Taves, and you're telling me that with Jonathan Taves out, that this team
is better,
would be where they are.
I mean, to me, the surprise is the goaltending, right? Kevin Lankinen, for me, has been a revelation. 14 games, .921 save percentage, 2.59. And Malcolm Subban, not a bad backup right now because...
He's been fine. .930 save percentage.
The way he played in Vegas, the way he played in Boston prior to him coming to Chicago, I would never have said, okay, this kid is going to be a decent backup. But right now he's showing he has the abilities to be a backup in the NHL. So whether or not that's short-lived or, you know, he's going to continue that sort of success, maybe not at this level, but have some success as a backup is still to be seen. So I'm not holding my breath on him, but still, Lankinen playing very, very well. So hopefully he can keep this up because Chicago is a team that I would just love to see in the playoffs because you always want to have the best players, and Patrick Kane is one of the best players.
That is very true. Their defense is, like, on paper, fairly ugly.
Right.
But they've been just fine.
Yeah.
They've been doing it by committee. Duncan Keith has been okay. And anything you can get milk out of Duncan Keith, former Norris Trophy winning Duncan Keith, the better. So that's Chicago. They're hot right now.
Yeah,
so
but
I can't put the hottest team in the league in the back half when they're in a playoff spot.
They are the worst team, though, in the NHL in terms of shots against. So that worries me. That's why I could see them falling apart, crumbling real quick. And without Taves, they're one of the, you know, worst face-off teams too. Yes, so,
yes. When's Taves back?
I have no idea.
Okay, let's talk New York Islanders. Where'd you have the Islanders? Like
13. Yep.
13. I have them at 11. Where do you think the New York Islanders fit? I mean, when you consider how their season's gone, they're 7-2-1. Is this a team that's on the rise and they're going to find their way into the playoffs no problem? Or is this 10-game stretch, like which 10-game stretch is the Islanders in your mind?
I think it's somewhere in the middle between the two of them. I think they're maybe like a 6-3-1 type of team and a 10-game stretch, and which would be fantastic for them.
Well, a 6-3-1 would be very good.
Yeah, I think they're somewhere in there, that sort of range, because again, they're a team that gets it done by committee, right? They get scoring from everywhere. I mean, guys like JG Pajot, Eberle, Matthew Barzal, these guys just do it by committee. There's no one guy that really just blows everybody else out of the water. Like, you know, a lot of these teams have those sort of players.
They went and beat the Bruins 7-2, so
right. And that's the thing. They're still capable of beating teams like that. And then not to mention, too, I mean, as long as you got Barry Trotz, you know, doing his thing behind the bench, you're going to get a good defensive system. And right now, Varlamov looks like he's going to contend for a potential Vezina, in my opinion. I think he's very capable if he keeps this type of goaltending up. I mean, 2.06 goals against average is phenomenal. 3 shutouts already. You know, Sorokin, I'd like to see him step up a little bit better. But again, they can ride Varlamov, and they're totally comfortable with that.
Sure. Yeah, they are. When you look at the other teams in this division, they're one, like, I don't see them falling apart at all. They're so well coached. Mm-hmm. They've got players bought in. I can still see this team winning this division.
I mean,
I think they could be really, really good.
If they did, I wouldn't be like, oh man, that's really shocking. I would be like, well, no, I mean, that's more than capable. Teams like Washington, Pittsburgh are getting a little bit older, a little slower, so they're going to eventually start falling. You know, you got the Phillies and Islanders creeping up a little bit, and Boston's always going to be up there. But, you know, Boston, you know, doesn't scare me as much as maybe they did last year or the year before, but...
Yeah, I think Boston's just buying their time to get into the playoffs, and
sure.
This is probably it. This is like their their last run. They've got a chance. I mean, we say that every year, and it seems like they lose pieces every year, and somehow they're still really good.
Right.
So, I mean, losing Chara, losing Krug, those are definitely things we thought would really affect them, and thus far, they've been pretty good. Well, they've been great.
Right.
Their last 10, they've been okay, but some of those, you got to think that Lake Tahoe experience did something weird. But anyways, let's go St. Louis. Where'd you have St. Louis again?
I have them at 11.
11.
Yeah.
I have them at 14. Right now, they sit third in the Honda West division. They have played considerable more amount of games than, say, the Avs, a team behind them. Even the LA Kings with a game in hand with a win puts the LA Kings in the playoffs and the St. Louis Blues out of the playoffs. Is this a team that, they're 3-6-1 in their last 10? They've lost 3 in a row. Will they continue to slide, or do you expect them to kind of right this ship back the other way? I mean, you got to think LA is not going to be able to hold out this pace.
Yeah, that is definitely part of it. I think LA's just on a little bit of a tear. I mean, if you had told me, Dustin Brown would have been one of the league's leader in goals to start the season, I would have had you committed. But, hey, here we are. I mean, hey, St. Louis had a couple bad runs against, Arizona. We talked about them earlier. They just couldn't seem to figure that one out. But, I mean, this is St. Louis, right? They're going to get it done 5-on-5. They're not going to beat you on the power play. And I think, the goaltending's been mediocre right now. I think if they can, Jordan Binnington, 914, not bad. But I think if they can get a little bit more out of him, if they can get a little bit more scoring in terms of depth, because right now you look at David Braun, Ryan O'Reilly, we talked about him in our last show, Jordan Kyrou, Braden Shin, they're getting scoring there, but I think they just need, and Torrey Krug has looked phenomenal, I think, in that Blues uniform. But I think if they can get more out of guys like, Jaden Schwartz, Robert Thomas, Barbashev, these guys who were expected to grow a little bit more, they'd be all right. And I think, again, they're kind of, to me, like Boston, where they're just, they don't have the luxury of being at the top, but if they can just get in the playoffs, they're going to do damage. So
I would expect that when we talk after March 20th, that the St. Louis Blues will be in first place in this division. Here's why. They play San Jose tonight, Saturday. Then they have 2 against Anaheim, 2 against LA, another one against San Jose. Then you've got 2 against Vegas. But then you've got another 2 against LA, another 2 against San Jose. So you're going to play San Jose 4 times. You're going to play LA 4 times, and Anaheim twice, and you got the Golden Knights.
You think you can pick up 14?
That's a pretty good
13
schedule.
points, yeah.
And based on what they're 1 point out of first place. Yes, teams have some games in hand, but let's say they go in and they are able to take 1 out of 2 against Vegas, and out of all those, 4 games against LA, you're thinking you're probably going to go 2-1-1. We'll say against
a minimum.
LA, you're going 3-1 probably against San Jose, and you're hoping to take both from Anaheim because Anaheim can't score worth a damn.
Right.
So you when you consider that and you go, okay, well, where are they going to be in the next month? I think that they'll be in a playoff spot, no problem.
I agree. They've had a bad stretch right now, and again,
if they don't win and they come 500 through that stretch, then that actually could make them this could be a make or break month for them.
No, I absolutely agree. Because if you can't beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, then yeah.
Well, and
then what are they going to do against teams like Vegas and
LA somehow goes and takes 3 out of 4 against them? Well, then LA is jumping them in the standings, and Colorado probably at the same time is jumping them as well.
Right.
So you got to win those games, but I think St. Louis is very, very capable. I would expect them to go in and beat LA.
Well, they better.
Just got to beat Anze Kopitar. That's basically it. Okay, should we go in the top 10?
Let's do it.
I have Philadelphia at 10.
As do I.
Edmonton at 9 and Colorado at 8.
We're pretty close. I've got Philly at 10, Edmonton at 9, but I've got Winnipeg at 8.
Okay. Do you have Colorado at 7?
I do.
Okay, and I have Winnipeg at 7.
Okay.
Which one of those teams stands out to you in there?
Honestly, I want to talk about Edmonton.
Okay, let's go.
Just because I worry about this team a lot. mainly because Mike Smith is playing so good right now.
They've won 5 in a row.
Yes. The guy is 6-0 right now. So, to me, I think at some point, Mike Smith being Mike Smith, and, this is no different. Like, Edmonton, what I will say is they've gotten more offense out of their D, which has been great to see, right? Darnell Nurse, Barry's been great, but, at some point, you got to figure Mike Smith is going to kind of go back to, that average, slightly above average goaltender that he is, and he's not going to be phenomenal like he's been, lately for Edmonton. And, again, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, they're going to continue to produce. There's no shock why they're at the top of the league in points. So, again, if the goaltending comes back down a little bit to earth, this team could slip a little bit, but at the same time, if they just continue to roll, then boy, it's going to be an interesting North Division, that's for sure.
Do we have Tyson Barrie for Norris?
No.
Is that your,
get out of here.
He is 3rd in scoring for defensemen.
Nope. Won't talk about it. It's going to be hard to put a guy like that, especially Darnell Nurse. I feel bad for these guys when you have 2 offensive juggernauts up front. They're just going to go back and everybody's going to say, "Oh, it's because you get to play with these guys."
As long as Victor Hedman is up there in scoring, he'll win the Norris.
Yeah, for sure.
People love him. Edmonton. I mean, we're gonna find out here. We've got a little series with Toronto now, and I mean that's what everyone wants.
That's the benchmark.
That's what everyone. I think that both those teams will. It's a benchmark for each of them. I mean, you're gonna go. Probably you're in Edmonton. I think that Edmonton will likely do what they did in previous games, where they try to keep McDavid away from Matthews as much as possible. They'll play him against Tavares, and it has worked. Tavares has not been good anyways, so a chance for Tavares. Maybe you get up for this competition. Hopefully Tavares, being the guy that he is, here's your opportunity. Like, go out and best the best. You got a chance to do it now.
Yeah. It's funny when you look at both these teams, like their number 2 centers are really the better defensive centers, but can still put up a crazy ton of points when, needed. So Draisaitl and Tavares, love it.
Yeah, it'll be those will be the fun games.
Yeah.
Fun. Toronto, Edmonton. I mean, those are the of all the games in that division, those are there's 9 games that they'll play each other. Those are the marquee games in my mind.
Yeah. So this will be where I figure out what Mike Smith is at this point. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Mike Smith goes on these runs. I mean, he has shown the ability to get very, very hot and be fantastic in those runs. And for my sake, I hope it ends tonight. Colorado at 8. I think, for the most part, expected them to be a little bit higher throughout the season, and so far Colorado they've been fine. I mean, they're at a 618 point percentage. Like they're doing just fine. Struggling to score goals though. They haven't been, not even scoring 3 goals a game, and that is what I would expect a Colorado team to be, is this high scoring team. Now, granted, they've allowed only 40 goals in 17 games. That's really really good.
Grubauer's look great. Yeah.
But I'm wondering, where is the goal scoring going to come from outside of McKinnon for this team, which has kind of been a question mark for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Kadri, Rantanen, they've looked good, but I want a little bit more out of Landeskog. I want a little bit more out of Burakovsky, Nichushkin. Like, these guys, they gotta step up a little bit more. And and maybe I would like to see Bowen Byram take that next step, be a little bit better, but especially coming in at, the 4th pick in the draft, I kind of expected him to come in this season and not necessarily be a difference maker, because you still have Cale Makar and Devin Taves, who's been pretty good, but I expected him to have the opportunity to just play that, offensive style that he's capable of.
Yeah, doesn't help. You've got Tyson Jost, he's got no goals. Nichushkin's got 2 goals. Landeskog with 3 goals. I mean, Kadri with 6 is okay. I guess then you're on pace for about an 18 goal year, which is decent in this 56 game year. You're looking at almost a 30 goal season. Nathan McKinnon only 4 goals though through 16.
Yeah, 35, 41 the 2 previous seasons, and so when you're scoring 4 goals, that worries me.
Yeah. So I mean, only shooting a 6.3% shooting, like that's going to go up. You know, he still leads the team in shots, and he's just not putting them in right now. So he works hard. You know, like he makes up when he's struggling. He makes up for it in so many other ways.
Sure.
But you gotta wonder, like, when is the offense going to break out for this team? And I don't think in a playoff series this team can be the defensive. Like, they're not going to be that. Oh, we're going to beat you with our defense.
Nope.
We're going to strangle you.
Yeah. So if they go up against like a St. Louis, like they can't win those 2-1 games.
Got to be able to score. And so that's my one worry with them. Their offense was just so lights out last year, and hopefully they right that ship. Where do we got next?
So, 7. I've got Colorado.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I have Winnipeg.
Okay, so yeah, they're flip-flop now. Number 6 for me, Florida Panthers.
Okay, Florida Panthers leading their division.
Yep.
Number 6.
I've got them at 6.
Obviously, you think it's a fluke.
Well, I necessarily don't think it's a fluke. I think they're more than capable of, leading the division. I mean, from a points percentage wise, they're not leading the division because that's what I always look at first and foremost, and Tampa Bay's up there. But I will say they're getting contributions everywhere, right? They're scoring a lot of goals. They're not necessarily stopping the puck as well as they could be, and that's the area of concern for me because Bobrovsky's
has been great.
Yeah, he's been great. Bobrovsky not so much. So if
Bobrovsky's still 6-2, but a 3.05 goals against.
Yeah, so I mean, if he can turn it on a little bit, then yeah, I'm putting Florida, right back up a little bit higher, top 5 easy. But
how much is Pittsburgh missing Patrick Hornqvist right now?
Oh my goodness,
Patrick Hornqvist has been great, almost a point per game. He's got 8 goals. He's tied for the team lead in goals there. I mean, he's just been phenomenal. I mean, he's second on the team in shots. He has 67 shots in 19 games. I mean, more than 3 shots per game. That's for a guy who is a net front presence type of player. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, things are working out very well for Patrick Hornqvist as he leaves kind of a struggling Pittsburgh team, and he's getting another lease on life. I mean, the Florida Panthers, if they can stick here in this like 1-2 kind of slot, and they won't have to play Tampa Bay till the second round, and they've got a legitimate chance. I think when I look at the playoffs, I think, do I think that Florida could beat Carolina? Yeah. Could they beat Chicago? Absolutely. Could they beat Columbus? No problem. Dallas, they could beat these teams. And I think this is one of those teams that they have failed to meet expectations so many years. You look and you're like, well, you just got to get into the playoffs once, and then you can win around the next year, and then you win a couple rounds the year after. Like, that's sometimes the progression that we see. But I think with this Panthers team, they've matured enough. Like, this team could go on a legitimate run.
Yeah, and I don't think there's as much pressure either for them to be great, in the playoffs, because they've just been so mediocre, the last few seasons where we've expected them to be good. I will say, love watching Keith Yandle kind of stick it to everybody's face saying, hey, I'm still a freaking awesome player. But 2 surprises for me. Alex Winberg, he stepped up. He's looking much better.
We said in the beginning, remember, it was if Alexander Venberg can step it up, then that changes the Florida Panthers, and it really has.
It has. And I love watching Anthony Duclair, right? He's always exciting for me as a depth guy. And so, if this team can get Brett Connolly going again too, my gosh, they would be even better. Which is
and Aaron Ekblad has been phenomenal.
Yeah,
he's been fantastic. He's definitely over his concussion issues that really hampered him for a couple years. He didn't look as good as that Rookie of the Year season that he had, and
Aaron 25 minutes a game. It's great.
Looks. I mean, he's for my money probably a top 8, top 10 defenseman in the NHL.
I'd buy it right now. Yeah,
and that is huge. That can never be underplayed. Okay, I've got Florida at 5.
Okay,
Carolina at 6. I had a hard time putting Carolina ahead of Florida. Where's Carolina for you?
5.
Okay,
yeah.
Played the same amount of games, and Florida for my money has looked a little bit better, and Florida 7-3 in their last 10. Carolina lost 3 in a row, 5-4. So more of a recency kind of thing. Let's go 3-4.
3-4. So 3 is Boston.
Okay.
And 4, I've got Vegas.
Okay. I just haven't flipped.
Okay. And I don't blame you. I did until basically, you know.
Wait, 3 Vegas, Boston 4?
No. Boston's 3,
Okay, yeah,
Vegas
I
4.
have Vegas 3.
Yeah, I flipped them yesterday. But I can't blame you. I mean, they're both amazing teams. They're playing great two-way hockey. The one thing I will say about Boston that worries me, and maybe it's sort of maybe not so much a worry, but like how much more dangerous could they be when Tuukka Rask starts turning it on?
That's true. I mean, the somewhat similar thought for Vegas is they've only played 16 games. They lead that division. Like, they are going to run away with this division, and that has to be accounted for. Like, Boston could certainly, there are teams within striking distance. I mean, Washington's right there, the Islanders are there, Philadelphia's right there. There are teams that could overtake them. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Vegas, they're likely going to be in first place.
Yeah, I don't see anybody
this entire time.
St. Louis might make a push, but
great. Pacioretty finally looks comfortable in Vegas. He got 8 goals through 16 games. I mean, he's on pace for like a 25-goal season, maybe more, if he can keep pushing this. And Alex Tuch's looked really good again this year. I mean, last year he kind of struggled, and that's huge.
Are we giving Marc-Andre Fleury the Vezina?
If they go, I mean, 155 goals against, a 9.42,
ridiculous,
and he's only 8-3.
Right.
So I mean, imagine if they got the goals, and I mean, it's not like Robin Leonard's been bad. It is very funny though. I love it. I love it. What are they going to do? They're just going to hang on to both guys. Obviously.
You have to.
You don't have any choice. But it's fantastic. I just love that guy. He always, just when you count him out, he gives a big middle finger and just keeps on going. And it's like, no, I am freaking good. What are you doing?
I didn't get drafted.
Imagine if they didn't waste their money on Robin Leonard and they went after and they held on to Thomas Tatar.
Dude, I mean,
that would eliminate the Pacioretty thing, but
still, I mean, you would have the ability to go after somebody else with that money, right? I mean, you could make a trade because you know Vegas is going to be aggressive again.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder what if Vegas didn't make that move and they had kept Thomas Tatar and Nick Suzuki and didn't trade for Max Pacioretty, signed Max Pacioretty when he became a free agent.
Could have done that, but at the same time, I don't think you have the capital then at that point to trade for Pietrangelo. So, or I'm sorry, not trade for him, but sign him.
Yeah,
I don't think you have the room.
Robin Leonard.
Yeah,
then you have it. Then you've got the money. That money is the money you'd give to Tatar instead.
Maybe, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Transfers right over. Anyways, that's there's a lot of branches that need to connect there.
We can look at that one day. That would be fun.
I assume that your 1-2 has two teams that start with T.
Yes, I do believe so.
I have Tampa Bay number 1, and I have Toronto number 2.
Same. Yep.
I am very on the fence of Vegas being in that number 2 spot because Toronto has their power play hasn't looked as good. We could, if they go in and they lose a couple games to Edmonton here, I think Vegas jumps them. I'm not there's no worries about Toronto making the playoffs. And you know, when a team's really good, it's often that you're like, what the heck? Why isn't this one? We're first place, but this guy isn't playing well. Well, you're in first place, so obviously he's doing something because you're in first place. But it's easy to start getting nitpicky, like going after Jimmy Vesey, who's been he's been a normal fourth line player, but everyone's hating on Jimmy Vesey because he hasn't been like the Jimmy Vesey that everyone expected him to be coming out of college when he signed with New York, and he's not that guy. He's not good. He's a fourth line player. Yep. Fourth line players just need to be even.
Right, exactly. That's the thing. You just want to score as many goals as you let in. Now, as far as Toronto's concerned, it's funny because, people have been talking about Tavares and Nylander's struggles, but, I mean, those guys still are freaking, roughly 0.8 points per game. Tavares is faceoff percentage is nearly at 60%. So
Yeah.
when you look at the things he's not doing,
He's not
scoring,
useless.
yeah, exactly. He's still a freaking phenomenal player right now.
The problem is he's just making so much money.
Right, and that does come with a little bit more criticism for sure. But Nylander, so I'm excited for him because now I can't remember when the interview was. It was maybe a couple days ago. But when he scored those 2 goals, and they were like, "What's the difference?" He's like, "I just started shooting." He was shooting maybe 2 shots a game. Now he shoots 6, and boom, there come the goals. Right.
Okay.
So maybe that's the difference for him. Just start shooting.
Everyone should just shoot.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, once you start getting up near the top, I mean, Tampa Bay, for my money, they're just ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah, so well-rounded.
5
And
goal differential.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Freddie Anderson, right? He's been okay, but I expect him to be better. And if he can be better, then maybe you can start having that conversation because Vasilevsky and that defensive system in Tampa has been shutting teams down offensively.
And we'll see what Jack Campbell can do here. I mean, this is Anderson's probably not going to play either of these games against Edmonton. He's not playing tonight.
Yep.
And Jack Campbell's going to get an opportunity here. I mean, Michael Hutchinson looked good against Calgary. It was
so
probably
weird.
his best game as a lead.
Hutchinson, he got a new helmet, and it's the Felix the cat.
Oh, yeah?
Potvins mask.
didn't see that.
It's funny.
That's great.
Yeah, he hasn't worn it at a game yet, but
Yeah, I mean, I guess when I look at Toronto's goaltending, you kind of go, all right, because of the way that they play, I mean, they're just trying to outscore everybody. Actually, I mean, they've been pretty good. I mean, 55 goals against in 21 games. That's you're at less than 3 goals a game, and you're at almost 4 goals a game scored. So, outside of some of those weird games against Ottawa, where you're letting 6 goals in against Ottawa, that was a weird game. I think that's maybe people are hanging they're looking at that game going, oh boy, they blew a lead against Ottawa. This team just can't hold on to leads. I don't know if I read much into that game. It just got away from them, and it is what it is. I think a lot of teams have a game every year where they blow a 3-goal or a 4-goal lead, and it just gets, okay, well, that was crazy. All right, let's move on. But because it's the Leafs and they did it in Game 7, it's like this thing that just holds on, even though nobody's even left. There's no one there.
right.
Morgan Riley, maybe, was he there? I think he was.
Yeah.
So he's it. He's the only guy left over from that team. So
Yeah.
but
Tampa, though, has got to pick up the scoring, though. I will say this. When Victor Hedman's your leading scorer on the team, you might have some worries.
yeah, and I think, the way that Tampa Bay started last year, where we were kind of like, what's going on with them? I think they're just like, we're just going to
Cruise control. We're just going
going to get in.
Right.
We get in and we're going to destroy.
Yeah.
I mean, Tampa Bay will likely win that division, and they're going to come up against, I guess, who plays who in the conference finals? How does that work? Is there certain divisions that are set to play each other?
No, so the first 2 rounds.
Is it just the top team with points will play the bottom team with points?
So, yeah, my understanding is it's the first 2 rounds you're basically playing within your division,
Right.
but the 3rd and 4th rounds are basically reseeding, right? So,
Okay, they'll reseed based on the points
Yes.
from the regular season. Okay, so really there's no, all right, the North is going to play the Central, and that,
yeah, but if you're Tampa, right, maybe you finish first. Now you have to worry about playing Columbus or Carolina. Like Columbus, wouldn't worry about at all. Carolina, on the other hand, I might worry a little bit about that, right? So that's a little dangerous. Now, I hope we get to see a Florida Tampa Bay.
I know I'm
series.
waiting for it.
So
I want it so bad.
Yes.
I want it so bad. However, we need to make that happen. Let's make it happen.
let Chicago get in the playoffs so they can be demolished in the first round, so we can make this happen.
There you go. All right, those are our power rankings for the first third of the season. Let us know what you think at OT Hockey Talk. If you have any questions, any lists that you think we should run through, we always love getting some new ideas for those. And enjoy all the hockey. It's great the hockey's back. I feel like there's something to do every day now.
Love it.
All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. last one. The regular season starts
6 days.
in 6 days on Wednesday.
Freaking A.
Wednesday, January 13th. We will do something for it. You'll find out of what we're going to do, but we'll be watching some games, and we'll talk to you soon.